Validation. You don't need it. This is the title of my talk today. And unlike giving a lot of theoretical gyan or a lot of knowledge to everybody, what I've decided to do is I've decided to share 4 parts of my life stories because my hope is that some of you will relate to my situation and hopefully find it useful so that a lot of you can avoid making the mistakes that I made in my career and still have to live with some of those regrets. So let's start with part number 1 of my story. Not too long ago, I was an average student in school, kind of like a lot of you all sitting. In fact, I remember hiding my face in the auditorium uh, back when these kind of talks used to happen in my school as well. And here's a picture of my teacher actually throwing me out of the classroom because I couldn't really pay attention to what was going on. The idea of learning about Indus Valley civilization or finding out the integration of tan X was the last thing in my mind, and it still gives me chills till date. And I just could not memorize it. What I used to spend a lot of my time doing is I used to spend a lot of time reading books about business, about technology, watching a lot of videos. And one fine day, I remember that one of my mother's friend actually told me that Rohan, I have this iPhone, and back in the days, you can't just buy an iPhone and start using it immediately. You had to unlock it because the SIM card of that particular iPhone would not work in India, especially if you buy it from abroad. And I took that as a challenge. So what I decided to do is I decided to actually unlock her iPhone, and while doing so, I thought, why not let me record a video of me being able to actually show this, not to just myself, but to other people as well, how I'm doing this, because there was a lot of demand for such things. So what happened is I started posting videos on my YouTube channel, as you can see, and thankfully, this my YouTube videos started getting a lot of views. In fact, we reached over 1 million views back in the days when, all this was just getting started. In fact, I also had the opportunity to make different kind of games and different kind of applications because while I was learning about the iPhone, I also had the opportunity to play around, code, and learn a lot of different kind of things. But here's the problem. Unfortunately, being an influencer wasn't so cool like how you all see today. And my friends and my peers actually discovered my videos, and unfortunately, a few weeks later, I had to delete those videos from the internet because I was embarrassed. I was bullied, and it felt as if I'm doing something wrong. And the idea of deleting those YouTube videos till date haunts me. And this is not a moment that I like to still remember till date. So this is when I discovered a mantra slash lesson that I would like to share with everybody today so that you don't have to live with the regret that I still do till date, which is very simple. Validation, you don't need it. So what basically happened is I definitely lost my YouTube channel. But what I did gain is something very important. And I want everybody to remember that irrespective of what kind of failures you might experience in life, you will always gain skills. And I learned a lot of skills during this process. I learned skills like research. I learned skills like public speaking. I learned skills like video editing, script writing, which was and has been very beneficial to my career till date. And I will tell you how. So after this incident, let's move on to part 2 of my story. So after I was done with a lot of my initial board examinations, what happened is I noticed that a lot of my friends, peers were getting opportunities and were being selected by amazing universities like Delhi University. Some were being placed at esteemed Ivy League colleges like Harvard, Princeton, and whatnot. Something I couldn't even dream of. Because even though somehow, grateful to my mother, I was able to actually score 81% in my 12th examination, it still wasn't enough for me to be considered as part of the cool circle of my friend group who were being placed at such amazing universities. And that idea, again, reflecting back to the days in school, I felt bad. I felt that I do not belong to the same group that a lot of my friends belong to. And I understand because a lot of people feel that way. So what I decided to do is I somehow got into a university in UK thanks to my IELTS examination somehow. And as soon as I arrived at the university, rather than focusing on what was going on in the classroom, what I decided to do is I decided to create a website which is called as buzzipedia.com. It still doesn't exist right now, but it was an entertainment website, kind of like Scoop Whoop or a blogs that you have seen on the internet, where we used to write a lot of articles. And what happened is we used to write different kind of articles, but unfortunately, I was a little too lazy to actually write these articles. So what I did is I went to this website called as Internshala, which still exists, and I decided to hire 20 students or interns to actually write these articles for me. And those 20 students belong to Delhi University. The irony is there. This website started blowing up. We started getting 10,000 views a day, even 100,000 views every single month. And we were writing various kind of articles, as you can see, 20 Indian universities with the most beautiful campuses. And they started going viral. 13,000 shares, 15,000 shares, a lot more. And this was amazing. And you know what? In this moment, I just realized something very important. I did not get the opportunity to actually be placed in an esteemed college like Delhi University, but I got the opportunity to actually hire 20 interns to actually write who were from Delhi University and make my articles go viral. And this is when I learned, and what I want everybody to take away from, is that validation, you don't need it. So, however, as I talked about before, I did learn some important skills despite not being placed at amazing colleges, which is I learned how to hire, I learned how to design websites, I learned how to create blog articles, I learned how to manage people, and these were important skills which compounded. After this, after I was, done with this website, of course that venture didn't last very long because I was just a student who had absolutely no idea what he was doing. However, what happened is I had learned important skills, as you all discovered. And what I did is I took what I knew and I started sharing all these skills on YouTube for free. Now this is very common. You might see people like Physics Wala and everyone share amazing content with a lot of people. However, I also did a similar strategy. I had learned digital marketing, I had learned website design, I had learned hiring and whatnot, and I decided to share all those videos on the internet for absolutely free. And as you can see, these videos actually got a lot of views because people were interested in knowing how am I getting so much traffic to my websites. Until one day, what happened is a guy named Vijay from the United States of America actually saw one of my videos of an 18-year-old boy in India who nobody knew who he was. And Vijay messaged me or emailed me and he said, Rohan, I really like what you're doing. Can you just do this digital marketing stuff for my website as well? Like, I don't know this, but I have an e-commerce website which sells different products. If you can get me half of the traffic that you are getting, I will be a millionaire. And I was like, that seems interesting. Well, I don't know anything about starting an agency or a business. So what did I do? Like what everybody does. Go to google.com, start searching, and this is when I learned that for these kind of services, a lot of people were charging $1,500 or even more. So I thought, let me say the same amount to Vijay and let's see what happens. Like, he's going to say no, max to max. But then I quoted that to Vijay, and surprisingly, in a few hours, this was the proposal that I actually sent to him. It's so badly written. But I'm surprised what happened next is that Vijay actually ended up paying 50% of the payment. And it was 4 a.m. in India, and I was shocked. I was like, what just happened? And I ran to my parents' room, and I was like, I have cracked this deal. This guy on the internet has paid me $750. And just like any Indian parent's reaction, they were like, Rohan, who have you scammed? What have you done? And this is when I made them realize, no, this is actually real. This person really needs my help. And that's when my agency business actually started. I had the opportunity to actually work on this agency and just at the age of 19, 20, grow it to a very decent level and make over $10,000 per month at just while being in my college dorm room and working with some of the most esteemed international clients all over the globe. So the lesson that I would like to share with everybody is that you don't need validation to actually do it. While a lot of my peers at this point were being or getting different kind of internship opportunities at some of the big organizations, I decided deliberately to pick the pathway of doing something unconventional, not seeking approval from other people, and starting my own agency and working on it. And I can definitely say that it was one of the best decisions that I've ever made. The core lessons that I would like everybody to take away from this talk today is the only validation that you need is the validation of yourself, not of anybody else. Stop living life to gain the approval of other people, because that is not going to serve you. I used to think that I need to make this money so that I could one day buy that Lamborghini and come back to my classroom and show everybody how successful I am. But the fact of the matter is, nobody cares other than you. And do things that you love and don't give up. Because remember, skills compound. Through each story of my life, each part of my life, I learned something amazing. And this really helped me in my career today. And everything happens for a reason, remember that? Because I truly believe that failure is the recipe for success. Because think about this, every person you know, every person who gives you some sort of motivational talk has been through failures. Therefore, my question to everybody is, if failure is required to actually succeed, then why are you afraid to fail? Right? So, here's the main takeaway and some action steps that I would like everybody to follow. At least identify one thing that you enjoy doing the most. If you don't know what it is, ask your friends and family. What do they call you out for when they actually need help? If you don't know that, just track your time every single day. What you love doing that if time was not a restriction at all, you could just spend countless hours just doing that. For me, it was being obsessed about making websites. It was me being obsessed about making YouTube videos. It was me being obsessed about coding. So what is that one thing that you truly love doing? So once you have identified that thing, spend all your time, or at least 1 hour per day, just 1 hour per day, irrespective of how busy your routine is, just spend 1 hour per day to actually dedicate to that particular activity. Do not care if it's going to make you money. Do not care if it's going to help you get the validation that you're looking for. Just do it and immerse yourself. And trust me, when you do that consistently for a long period of time, you will see the outcome and you will start loving what you do and you will be proud of the decisions that you took. And if possible, just like me, share your experience on social media. It could be, if you are good at writing, you could use medium.com. If you're good at videos, use youtube.com. If you're good at speaking, use podcast channels. But do something and do not let go of your precious time and stop living life to gain the approval of other people. Because remember, one important thing, validation, absolutely. You don't need it. Thank you.